Thanks for tuning in to Peeling Back the Label. Today I have a very special guest, Joan Fernandez, and we're going to talk about her upcoming book. It's not out yet, but it will be soon, and it's called Saving Vincent. I always loved Van Gogh. I can't wait to talk to her. It's really basically about Jo, Van Gogh's sister-in-law. That's really what the book is all about. But I can't wait to talk to her because I want to find out all the behind the scenes stuff and all her research and all that good stuff. She must have had a ball doing it. So let's get her going. Not on my side. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. Hi, Paulette. I see you. Oh, hi, Joan. I see you now. Okay. It says go live with Joan. Hopefully it'll work. It didn't work. It always happens. I think it just likes to play havoc with me to get me going. Because we need all the time we can to talk about Vincent van Gogh, Jo, and Theo. I keep on pressing accept and everything, Joan, and it's just not working. Sometimes, it says you're unable to join. You are following me, is that right, Joan? It's Book and Wine Lovers Marketing 1. I had to add the number 1 because my other Instagram account got all crazy and stuff. So I had to switch it over quick because I was doing a book tour, so I had to make up a quick account. And then I didn't want to have to ask everybody to stop following this account and go to that account. So just a nightmare. It says that you're there, but it won't, for some reason, it just doesn't want to connect with us, Joan. Oh, that gets me crazy. I'm so sorry. Oh, let's see. The last week, when I was doing an interview, I couldn't see the author. The author could see me, but I couldn't see the author. So it was kind of a downer for me because I didn't have any feedback, like somebody's face. And it's always nice to talk to somebody's face, not to a brick wall. So I hope it doesn't do that to me this time. It was weird because when I played the video, it was fine. It showed both of us, but not for me to see the author when I was doing it. It was so weird. It just keeps on saying that you're unable to join. I don't know why. Hmm.
There
Yeah!
we did
Hey!
it.
Oh, thank God. Oh,
It's like us against technology. And I was doing the same thing you were, trying to hit request, request, request. So it's all good. Thank
yeah, it's all
you.
good.
It's
It,
so
it
fun
all it
to be
all
here.
worked. It's all good, and at least I could see your beautiful face. Last week I couldn't see the author, so it was kind of like it was like wah, wah, I could because I wanted to see her,
Sure, sure.
But I'm glad that you're on. Thank you so much for coming on. I cannot wait to talk about your book. I have lots of questions,
Right.
and congratulations, by the way. And before we get started, I mean, I told everybody a little bit about the book and everything before I had you come on. But just can we maybe do like a little couple sentences about the 31 titles of women in history? Because that's why you're on today, to celebrate that. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I would love to. It is such a great program. It's the brainchild of Janice Daly, and 31 titles refers to the 31 days of March in Women's History Month. And each of these titles has a strong woman protagonist. And it's either a biographical historical fiction or one based on women that comes from research, real activities that they did. And each book is just, it will just blow you away. It's such an inspiring month in which we are really acknowledging these unsung heroines that have been written or erased out of history in so many cases. And so it's just a wonderful thing that Janice has put together for to just continue to celebrate each day.
Yes, and even though she probably gets tons of books, not everybody is chosen. So obviously, your book was chosen for a reason, right?
I'm
so
I am honored
yes,
for sure.
so congratulations. Yeah. So what made you decide to write about, Jo? Like why did you choose to write about her? What you know, sh obviously kind of like an unsung hero. She wanted to get Vincent, known for his paintings and everything, but what inspired you to write about her?
Sure. Well, first of all, I first came across Jo when I visited the Van Gogh Museum in 2016. I was with a group of girlfriends and we went to the Van Gogh Museum. And when I came there, I got this audio tour,
Yeah.
through the museum. And so that just makes you, as you're going through Vincent's paintings, it just gives you this emotional response, right? So at the end of maybe an hour of this, at the very end of the exhibition, there was this family tree of Vincent. And that's where I saw Vincent's picture, this little black and white postage stamp. There's his brother Theo, who was such an emotional lifeline for him. And then I realized that Theo had died just 6 months after Vincent. And on that family tree was a black and white picture of Jo van Gogh, Theo's wife, with a notation that she's the one that actually promoted his
Mhm.
paintings. And so that was my first introduction. And then, Stephanie, I Googled, like we all do when we want to find out more. And I came across a couple of articles that asked the question, why would Jo devote her life to Van Gogh's paintings when she only met him 3 times? She didn't really know him. And in those articles, Stephanie, they said, well, Jo was being obedient to Theo's wishes. And so that just made me mad because I thought, don't tell me that a woman will spend her life doing something incredibly hard and she didn't have agency. And then as I got to know Jo, I feel like I have a lot in common with her. She was a marketing genius, and that was my profession prior to
Ah,
retiring. So I see her strategies, and she was really against an industry that was male dominated, and I worked in corporate America, and it so happened in 3 different industries that were all dominated by men. So I felt a little bit like I got it. I got her, And so that really compelled me to try to put her story on the page.
yeah. No, but so now I'm dying to know, what did she do? Like, how did she market his paintings that were so, why everybody wanted them? Do you know what her trick was?
Well, she had several tricks. She did, like, for example, one of the very first things she did, which they considered was really stupid, was Theo's gallery had been in Paris, and that's the epicenter of the art world. The thousands of artists are pouring into Paris to try to make their mark. She took the paintings, which she inherited, she
Right.
shared that inheritance with their 1-year-old son, and moved to the Netherlands, which to a snooty Parisian at the time was like the total backwoods, right? But her strategy was she started to reach out to Dutch art galleries and Dutch art dealers, and she kind of played the nation card. This is a Dutch artist. Would you be interested in knowing more? And that
Gotcha.
time established a foothold for her. So that was just one of the
So yeah,
strategies.
Me, that was very smart.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Even though they say it's stupid, but we know, like now we know
yeah.
that it was smart.
And I think it's if you're in it for the long game, you're willing to let things be established. Another example is she gave paintings to people who were influential. The doctor that treated her husband Theo, an art gallery owner who was really helpful for her, an art critic. But she gave the paintings on the condition that those individuals loan them back so she could hang them in exhibitions. And Stephanie, what happened with that is they'd get FOMO. They'd read that plaque from the private collection of Dr.
Hmm.
And they think, huh, so a doctor owns this. That's interesting.
Hmm.
And so we understand human nature, and that was very similar to that. Another simple strategy that she did was she decided to list in her catalogs paintings that were not for sale. And this wasn't a trick on her part. She was actually trying to save, and she did half of that inheritance for her son. And there were paintings that were her favorites. But what that gave people was this idea of scarcity,
Yeah.
right? Well,
Yep.
all these paintings exist, and there's only some left. And that too was really intuitive on her part.
Hmm. Very smart. Do you think, do you think she also kind of like, even though she didn't know Vincent, but do you think she kind of had a soft spot for him just because when she read the letters between Vincent and Theo, do you think, you know what I'm saying? Because then she got to know Vincent through those letters, you know? Do you think maybe she had kind of had a soft spot for him, or it was really her husband that wanted her to, sell the paintings?
Oh, I love that question because it reflects actually what a lot of us feel today. You're absolutely right. Through reading his letters, she felt like she got to know him in ways that she didn't before because she knew him through what her husband thought.
Mm-hmm.
And so those letters were a real turning point in so many ways. For example, she used them to turn critics into champions because there were art critics that thought that Vincent's work was too rebellious, unfinished, ugly. So
Mm-hmm.
she sent them the letters. And when you start to get to know the person, you start to have a little bit more sense of empathy and curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And she did that in a really big way in Paris because she proposed sending illustrations and excerpts of letters to go into an art magazine called Le Mercure. And that editor got such a great response. Instead of one issue, he ran six. And
Oh, wow.
so
That
among
was good.
the public in Paris, it created, a marketer would say that's creating awareness and curiosity. And
Hmm.
that's like, yeah. And so she did use the letters really strategically.
Yeah. Yeah, that was amazing. Now what about the son? Did he ever become a painter or an artist in some way or?
Stephanie, he was, because Joe was a single parent, because he was just a year old when his father died, he was immersed in the art world. I mean, like there were like sawdust shavings in the carpet of the salon when he grew up. And so not a big surprise when he got older, he was like, I'm done. I need different art. So he became an engineer. And it wasn't until he had retired and was in his 70s that he decided, I need to do something with this treasure trove my mother has left me. And he approached the Dutch government, set up a trust, and then they in turn were able to raise money for the Van Gogh Museum. So
Okay.
a big chunk of his life, he just kind of stiff armed the whole thing because he'd just been saturated with it as a kid.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah, yeah.
I could see that. What is your top three paintings that Van Gogh painted? What's your favorites?
I mean, out of
Your
out,
top three?
out of 900.
Yeah, yeah, only 900.
Well, I have to tell you, my all-time favorite is Almond Blossom,
Okay.
and that is a painting that Vincent painted when he heard the news that Joe and Theo had a son.
Oh.
It's a beautiful, bright blue sky with these twigs and boughs of white and pink blossoms. And it's kind of an olive branch because he was happy for his brother, but he was also really dependent on his brother. And I think Vincent was worried that Theo would now maybe not be as much of a financial lifeline, that type of a thing. And so that painting was his welcoming of this little boy and happiness for his brother. And as a mom, I love that
Yeah.
idea,
Yeah,
right?
I think it's nice too.
It was one of Joe's favorites. She hung on to that one. She did not sell it.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember seeing that one. I mean, I like the typical, the Starry Night, the sunflowers, the irises, the typical popular ones. But, I've never been to a Van Gogh museum, so got first eyes on probably a lot of really nice ones that, I've never seen before.
Well, they're really dispersed now around the world.
Mhm.
So the museum, of course, does have a wonderful
Mhm.
collection. But I've been sort of on like an African safari to like hunt down Van Gogh paintings whenever I'm in the vicinity. They're in 43 different cities of the
Oh,
United States. So
wow.
we
See, I love that when you have a mission, when you go away and it's like you need a mission, you just need a mission to do and then all the little fun things along the way that you wouldn't have found or done if you didn't have your little mission. So I like to have little missions when we're away too. I think it's fun. And
yeah,
it gives you something to look forward to, right?
it is right.
Hmm. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to ask you. Oh, did they ever find out uh, what what Vincent's diagnosis was like in today's terms? Like they might not have known back then, the scientific terms, but do you know? Did you research any of
I
that?
did read some speculation because of course they don't really know. Like in the beginning they thought maybe he had epilepsy or schizophrenia, but those have since been um decided that wasn't it. And I think the closest might be bipolar,
Okay.
but he was truly manic.
Mm-hmm.
He would eat paint. He really went low. But what was
Oh
Stephanie,
boy.
yeah. What was interesting is that in his letters to Theo, he was totally cognizant and knew when he was starting to get depressed.
Hmm.
So when he was not depressed, he was totally lucid. He was
Hmm.
inspired. So bipolar seems to be the closest thing.
Okay, I was just curious about that. And then when you don't have medicine when you're bipolar, forget it. You're cuckoo. Um, oh, why do you think, um, in today's world, why do you think so many people are fascinated with him? Like, what do you think the fascination is? Do you know? I was just curious, or just by through your research and stuff.
I imagine that because he's an underdog,
Mm-hmm.
he never knew his own success, and he was truly passionate and dedicated, and never saw the results of that. I
Yeah.
think that there's something that appeals to our. He's like an everyman. He's this worldwide phenomenon now, a celebrity, but truly, I think he can relate to so many people. And he himself really related more to laborers than he called them money men. You know, is he just felt like I'm just a, and he was a workaholic. He gave up sleep. He survived on coffee and cigars and a bit of bread. I mean, he was not healthy at all. Does that make sense to you? That being
Yep.
an underdog? Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah, I totally get it. Because people could probably kind of relate to him a little bit better.
Yeah.
Um, did you find any like really cool things when you researched that you uncovered that you didn't think you were going to find, or just stumbled across anything that you might find that the viewers might find of interest?
Well, I think here's one thing. I was in the south of France in 2019. Talked my husband into a little Van. We were talking about following the clues for Van Gogh, and so we're in the south of France, and I noticed that the street signs had two names. the name that was on the map, and then this other name in italics. And so I asked somebody what that was, and it was what they call the Occitan, is the name of that area, dialect, and it's an old dialect. And so in further just sort of thinking about this, I realized that when Vincent lived there, he painted a number of paintings of a soldier, a postman, a policeman, the postman's family, a lot of these portraits of people in uniform. And what struck me is that when Vincent was there, in his letters, he talks so much about being lonely. He couldn't talk to anyone. The only ones he could talk to were these government employees. And so these were the individuals that he was able to say, hey, would you pose for me? I'd like to do a portrait. And I thought that was a little aha moment for me on why he had focused on those subjects, but also in his letters, why he was so lonely and wasn't talking to people. And that I just hadn't realized that before. So that was kind of a sad, that was kind
Yeah.
of
Well,
sad,
why was he so lonely?
because, I'm sorry, because he did not speak that dialect. He only spoke the Parisian French.
Oh,
And
okay,
local
okay.
people didn't understand him, and they didn't, and he didn't understand them. And
Wow.
it did not work out for him because he was really misunderstood then, because he was slovenly. He would do this weird thing about going out every day with these canvases and this paint box and everything and just come back again. And they thought, this guy is really weird. Like, who is he in our town? And in fact, Stephanie, after he had his cut off the ear incident and went into the hospital, when he came back out, the townspeople had signed a petition saying he wasn't allowed to move back into his home. They wanted him. They wanted to
Ouch.
kick. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Now, what was the reason why he did that? Is it just because, like, was it a mental health thing or? Yeah. Okay.
It was a mental health thing. He was having a big fight with Paul Gauguin at the time, and in my book, I think Paul is kind of a turkey, and so I treat him that way in my book because he kind of abandoned Vincent and all this stuff. But they had a big fight, and they had been arguing. In essence, Paul said, you could go outside, fix that picture in your mind, and go back into the studio and paint it. And Vincent said, no, you have to be in the elements.
Hmm.
And the thing is, it's a fair discussion, right? But
Hmm.
Vincent get really, really animated and energized and urgent and escalate these discussions into these big shouting matches.
So, was their relationship, were they friends, but they fought, or they were always enemies?
It started out as friends, and
Hmm.
then Vincent just got to be too tough to live with. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I guess between just his attitude and then the mental health, yeah,
And
it's very sad.
yeah, and Gauguin himself was really in it all for whatever he could get out of the relationship too. So he didn't bring a great attitude of generosity.
That's so funny. I'm just trying to see if I had any other questions for you. Well, so with Jo, let's talk about her a little bit before we have to go. Is there anything else that you would like to, let the readers know about Jo, or anything you found remarkable about her other than her marketing? And so I just can't get over when you said about how she had to obey her husband. I didn't know that. I just thought, like, in my mind, she, like, kind of like read all the letters. She felt, kind of sorry for him. She felt like maybe a connection between the two. The brothers were so close to each other, and she just decided, I want to do this. But you crushed me.
Well, let me make you feel better. I thought, I mean, one of the things that to me was so fascinating is I asked the question, how was she so confident that Vincent was a true talent when all of these experts were saying he wasn't? Like,
Hmm.
what gave her that conviction? And I have two things that I think led to it. Number one, she grew up in a family that was really musical. Her dad was a workaholic, he was an industrialist, but his one thing that he that he loved is he got all of his kids musical instruments. They had concerts and lessons, and they did their own thing in the salon at home. So yeah, one biographer said that Jo ultimately had the equivalent of a bachelor's degree in music. And
Wow.
to me, what was cool about that is that meant she could she was used to thinking in the abstract. What
Mm-hmm.
is this artistic expression and what does it mean and how is it executed, right? Later, when she met Theo, she didn't know anything really about art, but she in their letters when they were engaged, they exchanged 101 letters. She asked him questions about art. How do you look at art? How do you know what's good? And he was answering and explaining to her, along with saying, Stephanie, what I want in a marriage is someone that can be my partner, someone that can share in the burdens of the business. And so I imagine that after they got married, they were still having those conversations. She was reading Vincent's letters when they came in. She was looking at the artwork that came in the mail, and that was a form of apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So the music plus the apprenticeship, she wasn't clueless. She was drawing from the man she trusted, Theo, what he had
Mm-hmm.
told her. And then once she read all those letters, I think she started to build on that understanding. And then finally, I do think she was intuitively, she had a marketing sense about her. And someone gave me this great example of just like Lucille Ball
Uh,
had this intuitive sense of comedy that like when she explained it, people were like, no, but she knew it. And
mm-hmm.
then she had the most successful sitcom even to date with I Love Lucy, right? It was so
Yeah.
simple to her and so clear. And I think it was the same thing with Jo. She would have these ideas and people would be like, that's not the way it's done. No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, honey. That's, but she had this sense about it, and she wasn't in it for the immediate financial return. She was in it to establish an inheritance her son could really have. And
Right.
so she raised prices over time. She paid herself higher and higher, more in commission, but it was from this this sense that she got it.
Mm-hmm.
She knew what was going on.
Yeah, I also think like all her hard work with her music lessons, it wasn't just once a week. I mean, they probably had to do it every day, if not maybe twice a day, who knows. So she knew what hard work was. And she knew, how many paintings he had to paint just to get to where he was, that day. So I could see why she would do that, and she understood.
I love that. Yes, she could appreciate that for sure.
Mm-hmm. So this is great. So what day is the book actually coming out?
It's coming out April 15th.
Oh,
Think,
April 15th.
think,
Oh, let
think
me see the cover. I'm sorry, I didn't even ask for you to show the cover. I love the cover now. Is excuse me for being dumb. Is that a made-up picture or is that one of Van
no,
Gogh's?
this is a Van Gogh painting, right?
Wow,
Yeah,
beautiful.
isn't that beautiful?
It
And
is.
think of it as a positive thing on tax day. Is this book is coming April 15th? Not gonna
That is,
be raining, even if everyone else is crying.
yes, yes, yes. Now, is the Kindle version available right now if they wanted to purchase it?
uh, the paperback and the digital, they won't be out until
That's
April
it.
15th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So everything. Okay. So everybody out there, April
Just
15th, you get your tax return.
just 3 weeks, very soon. Yeah,
Yeah. Are you going to be doing an audiobook, do you think, down the road?
definitely,
Oh, good.
definitely.
Good, 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 good. I was just telling my mom about your book, and she's like, how come I haven't never heard of it? I'm like, it's not out yet. So I'm sure there's going to be so many people loving your book. There's so many, Van Gogh fanatics like you and they're all going to rush to read the book and learn all about Jo.
Thank you
So thank
so
you so
much.
much for coming on and telling us about these unsung women. Thank you very much. We need authors like you.
We do. We need these books. We need these stories. That's for sure.
Yes.
Thank you for all that you're doing, Stephanie, to get the word out. It's
Oh,
fantastic.
thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on, and I'll have you come on again
Okay,
soon.
sounds
All right.
good.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.